Good afternoon. Have any of you seen this documentary that they... No? Okay, I'll give you a 5-minute description of what it is. And I'll work out what to tell you about it from there. Okay. The film is about mining in South Africa. It goes back about 300 years before 1652, which is a milestone in our history because that's when Jan van Riebeeck landed and black people met white people for the first time here in the southern part of Africa. And then it goes all the way to 2011, where we hear a very interesting guy called Julius Malema sort of speaking about what he thinks should happen with mining in the country. So it's kind of a long period in our history. I called the talk First Time Out because number one, I don't think there's ever been a documentary in the country on a major section of our economy. It's never been done. So it's the first time that has happened. And it's a very important part of our economy because from what I gather, it is what everybody, aside from new industries, thinks is where we can get the source of wealth for everyone, which is why a lot of people are making tons of noise now. So that makes it kind of significant, I guess. It was also the first time that Malema said directly that he will take the mines without compensating anyone. So that hadn't been said before. He hadn't said that before. He just said he needed to nationalize. So that made it it overshadowed the entire film. Everybody just concentrated on this man saying that the mines will be taken and no one will be paid, because that had a ripple effect. The land people also said they want land without paying anyone. It's also a first because the executive producers had never founded a film in their lives before. So Nchaka Muloi and Nonkubela Mazwai had never ever spent a cent trying to fund anything that had to do with movie making. So they spent over 2 million rand to get this film made. The producer, that's me, had never produced a documentary film ever in his life. The directors had never directed a documentary film in their lives. Neven Chetty and myself, Eric Miyeni. The director of photography, it looks very nice. Carlos Carvalho, very nice, very good documentary. DOP, did an amazing job, but had never done a documentary film before. Silalo Suluta wrote the music. Some of you might know him. He did Trpa. A very popular song in the township somewhere. He had never scored a film in his life, so he scored this film. Why is this significant? I think for me, it is important because South Africa is kind of set on listening to the same voices, saying the same things in the same structured ways, as we all know. And in a sense, it gives us a lot of comfort. You know, we know this man, he's been around for 20 years, so we can listen to him. And I think there's something that goes funny when a nation gets incredibly comfortable like that, when mavericks start not to be of importance at all. And I think great nations make strides because they let their mavericks shine, is what I think. So I was looking at your program, actually, just as a digression, and I thought, wow, that's a lot of stuff to pack. And I thought you have very big brains. And then I thought again, I guess education is not about retaining facts, because those change as quickly as people speak. It's about learning to learn faster, I guess. And what is in this for me is that we ended up with a documentary that is quite well respected, I think, and it looks pretty good, I think. It's got all the qualities of a very well-made BBC-style documentary. Now, Why I mention that is because we have the style where I eat a lot of burgers and I grow very, very fat, and then I film myself and I tell everybody how bad burgers are. So that's the new style of documentary. I put myself in the center of the story. We were very conscious of the fact that we did not want it to be the producer's voice, the executive producer's voice, Malima's voice. It had to be the voice of the story, if you like. So we tried as much as we could to have as many people speak on the subject as we possibly could. One of the things I discovered was that people were mining gold, iron, copper, and beneficiating and trading internationally on it over 200 years before 1652. Now, I didn't know that. I thought we were running around here sort of farming a little bit. And then somebody said, if you move those crops, you'll find some platinum underneath. And when I discovered, actually, we did find stuff. We prospected. In fact, I don't know why I'm saying we, because there's another theory that says people like me also came from the north, you see, and took over from the Khoi. So it's a country of major colonization. But we discovered all of these things as we went through it. Now, I'm saying first time out because we're not blinkered, because we've never been in this arena before. All we knew was that we wanted it to be, I don't know how to close it, to be as objective as it can be, if you like. We did something that is, I think, quite unique. And it opens avenues that maybe would never have been opened. Because I think if you go in and you have a lot of knowledge and you know what's what, you kind of put a lot of that into what you do. So the documentary kind of stands out as a first-time project for first-timers in that it produced information that's probably quite new to a lot of people. And what it means, I guess, for me personally, is that as a country we need to do a lot more of that, okay? We need to start giving a lot more chances to a lot more people we don't even like, you know. I remember when I was at varsity, we were outnumbered by white students, you know. And I remember seeing pubic hair on the chairs, and it was straight. It drove me nuts, you know. And then I realized that mine was quite a crunkly, round thing, and it probably drove the white people nuts. And then I thought, you know, we need to sort of go beyond what drives us nuts about people who don't know. Because it's just strange in the beginning, and then it's okay. But we need to give more people a chance to do more things so that we can see our own world in a different light, I think. So, what does that help you or do for you as journalists? I don't know. I have a feeling personally that, in fact, I'm writing about this next week. I have an opinion slot. It's exactly 500 words in the Sowetan. And no matter how big an issue I have to deal with, I have to cut down to 500 words. It's been an amazing discipline. And next week I'm arguing that the narrative that has been taken on by most journalists in South Africa, and it's unfortunate, I think, because it blinds a lot of people, is that we have a country that is probably the worst around, with the worst record around, with the worst politicians around. Like it's a major narrative, and that the biggest answer to this horror of a political system with horrible politicians is the private sector, because there's no corruption, they are incorruptible, they are efficient, and they make a lot of money. Some of us have a feeling that there's nothing more corrupt than the private sector right now. I mean, I was listening now and I was thinking, when I was growing up, if you put 20 rand in the bank, at the end of the year, if you didn't touch it, it was 25 rand or 21 rand. Now you put 300 rand in the bank, if you don't touch it at the end of the year, it's 50 rand. So you ask yourself, how can the banks not be part of what needs to change in order for people to save? People are thinking, if I put my money in, I'm saving, I'm just putting it away. And then they tell you we have systems on the other side. If you look in the small copy, you'll find a place where you can save without losing money. So why don't you direct me there then? Whatever. So I'm writing about that and saying that we need to change, I think, the narratives that we have begun to think are natural, normal, and right, if you like. And these people here with this film basically said, okay, we know there are people who have made a lot of films before. We know they're great. Some of them have almost won awards. But we'll try and go to people who might not win anything, just to see what story we get. That's called risk-taking. And I think, personally, I think we need more of that in this country. Last story, I guess, doesn't involve pubic hair. I see you getting it. Silicon Valley. In 20 years, went from nothing to being richer than Wall Street, which had been around for over 70 years. That's a fact. And the way they did it is because when you started out and you wanted money for an idea, for some IT thing, you got a little bit of money. But when you came back the seventh time, you got more money than you ever dreamed you'd get, because everybody thought by the seventh time, you must be close to getting something right. It's a whole different mentality. Whereas in this country, they say, who are you? You know, who's your mother? You know, is your father in defense, or did you guys do it too? Are you white? All sorts of irrelevant questions to what needs to be done, you see? So, anyway, so this is it. I hope you guys get a chance to see this thing, because I can't talk about it really and tell you how good or how bad. But I can sort of assure you, as a matter of fact, that as a country, we need to take more risks on a lot more people that we've never looked at before. And I think that's how we can create more wealth. And when you have more wealth, it's like, I mean, I have more than I need. I just save. I mean, I don't have to touch it. You know, I don't know if you've ever made enough money. Maybe you haven't, maybe you're too young. But like, there was a time, long time ago, when I made this kind of money, you know. It's a lot by Zulu standards. And even more by Tsonga standards. Maybe a little, too little by sentence standards. But I remember, you know, once I went from having to decide whether to buy a beer or bread. Very painful decision, that at night in a bar with a nice lady and all. Being insensible like I've always been, I always went for the beers. And when I got to a point where didn't matter how many beers I bought, the next day I still had 10 rand. You save it, that's what you do. So anyway, that's what I think I thought I should leave you with in the shortest time that I can, because I believe you guys are running late anyway. Yeah, let's take more risks. Let's look on the other side with no prejudice, care who you are, and just let's see what story comes out of that. And then I think we'll make, I think, you know, decent journalists. Me, I'm not a decent journalist. I'm very prejudiced.
I'm guessing there's some